Hey guys, it's Bridget with San Diego Seed Company, and we are in my orchard. It is springtime, and you can tell because there's a dude weed whacking in the background. Sorry for that noise, which he just stopped, so I better hurry up and do this video. We're gonna talk about some of the things that you should be doing in the spring for your fruit trees, and in particular using Tanglefoot. This is one of the best things that you can do for your trees in zone 9 and 10, and I will get into all the details of why that is. But before I do, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button so you're notified anytime we put out a video, and so I can help you grow your garden. Tanglefoot is something that, I remember a master gardener telling me about this decades ago and thinking she's crazy. She was totally right. I'm sorry, whoever you were, and I'm sorry I thought you were crazy, but it really does work, and it's just about one of the only ways that you can effectively keep ants off of your fruit trees in zone 9 and 10. So why do I care about ants being on my tree? Well, if you have a lot of ants on your tree, it's signaling to you that there's a lot of different things happening that can actually affect the happiness and the health of your fruit tree. So the ants start coming up your fruit tree, and they're coming up because they want to eat the secretions or the sweet nectar that comes from aphids and woolly scale and other insects that are on your plant already that are eating leaves and other organic matter that's on there. So if you see a lot of ants, if you look closely, you're going to start to see there's other stuff that's growing on your fruit tree. Especially if you have actual fruit, you'll see the woolly scale. Aphids are pretty easy to catch, but you know that if you have one, you have the other. And then to add to this issue, there's actually a mold that grows on the secretions from the aphids. So you have the aphids, you have the ants protecting the aphids are doing damage to your actual leaves, and it's a whole system of things that are happening on your fruit tree that, left unchecked, especially if it's a small fruit tree, can stunt it. So you really want to make sure that you control the ants on your fruit tree for that reason. You can actually see we've got some right here. So here's some ants, and then if you zoom in really closely, that little tiny green thing is an aphid. And then you can see on the other side of the leaf, I've actually sprayed this tree a couple of times, but you can actually see the remnants of the sooty mold. So this size of tree is a really good example of a tree that if it was left unchecked, it would definitely change the outcome and the health of the growth of this plant.
He walked right behind you. Did you notice?
No, I did not. Hi! Hi, Django! Say what's up! You can come help me? Huh? So when I mean spray with water to rinse off all of these things that are happening on the tree and to try to dislodge some of the pests. So one of the ways in which you can manage this is by actually just keeping ants off your tree. Sounds simple, right? It's not. It's actually very difficult to keep ants off your tree, especially if your tree is touching other things where an ant can crawl up that wall and touch that leaf and get over. It can crawl up this pole and it can get onto the actual tree. So the first thing you want to do is make sure your tree isn't touching anything else if possible. And if that can happen, if you can trim away edges or ends of the leaf so that your tree is nice and neatly contained, then you can use a product called Tanglefoot. Now this is actually called Catchmaster, and that's because I think the company that makes Tanglefoot, and somebody can comment and tell me if I'm wrong, I think they quit making it, which is crazy. But basically all this is really sticky stuff. I mean, look at that. What happens is, after you put down a protective layer on the trunk of the tree, then you can use something like a popsicle stick, because you don't want to touch it. It's not going to hurt you, but it's so sticky, it's not fun to have on your hands. But you can take it. The protective layer we have here is actually just some ripped up pieces of row cover. You can really use anything that's going to allow the Tanglefoot to actually stick to the material and not to the actual tree. You don't want to put this directly on the tree. There is bandages specifically for this that you can buy, but you can also upcycle and use other products. Like this is basically row cover, and then I put some duct tape around it. This thick, gooey, gunky mess goes all the way around the trunk of the tree. And basically what I'm doing is I'm ensuring that a majority of the ants that are crawling up here are going to get stuck in this tanglefoot. They get stuck, they can't make it all the way up, so then they can't do their thing of farming aphids and making the whole issue worse. This is something that you do want to reapply, especially in hot climates. Here in zone 9 and 10, this can actually kind of melt and you can actually see it kind of dripping down. You want to reapply it. You want to make sure it's fresh, and if the ant problem is really bad, you have to reapply it because basically they will make a bridge of dead ancestors that they use to crawl across to get to the top.
That's the most metal thing I've ever heard.
This only works, again, if there is nothing else that the ant can use as a bridge to get onto this tree. Now I'm looking over here and I need to maybe trim a couple of leaves because they could crawl up this and get on here. You also want to look for anything else. Is there anything leaning up on the tree that could allow them to get up there? Like my irrigation line was actually stuck on here. Well, guess what's happening? They're just using that as a freeway. So it does take a little bit of thought process, but once you do it, it is the best organic way in which you can manage the ants and keep their numbers controlled. You're still gonna see ants on your trees. You can't stop it, and that's okay. But if we can keep the majority of them off, your plants are gonna be happier and healthier. So some of you guys might be thinking, well, what about ladybugs? Yes, ladybugs do have a beneficial role in the garden in helping with aphids. However, if you already have a lot of ants and a lot of aphids on your tree, adding the ladybugs to your garden, it's kind of like taking a vitamin when you're already sick. Does it hurt? No, it doesn't hurt, but is it going to stop the problem? No. And actually the ants can start to nip at the ladybugs and it can become kind of a battle, an epic battle, which that would be a really cool show. Anyways, I digress. Okay, so let's just recap all the things that can go wrong if you're not keeping ants off your tree. And the best organic way to do that is using Tanglefoot. The ants climb up your tree, they farm aphids and move aphids around. The aphids nibble on tiny little small baby emerging leaves. They secrete their little poopies. Their poopies get mold all over them. The tree just in general is not as healthy. So if you can keep the ants at a minimum, you're never going to be able to keep them all off. Your plant is going to be healthier and happier. And after years and years of owning an orchard and managing it organically, the best way in which we can do that is using a product like Tanglefoot. Now we don't even carry it, but there's many vendors online where you can get it, and it's an easy to use product. It's safe with kids, with pets. The worst part is you just don't want to get it on your hands because it's so sticky.